Integration Workshop 6.3, Collaboration, Cooperation and Sharing. This time we're going to be talking about stages of the flipped classroom. Now if you have a QR code reader, you can use that up in the top left corner to download this presentation. I've presented this at EduTech in Queensland and Sydney, in Queensland. I've presented it at almost all of the faculty areas, SAITA, SASTA, MASA, languages people. I've also gone through it at the Mobile Learning Conference, Mobi Learn Conference in Singapore. So this is a model that I'm very, very passionate about. And flipped learning is very much a flavour of the month over the last couple of years, really. But it's very very high in demand. A lot of people use the term flipped learning. Not everybody's really sure about what it means. Most people think, flipped learning is where you get the kids to do work at home and then they do all their work at home and then they come back in the classroom to do their assignments and stuff. So content's delivered at home, assignments delivered in the classroom. But you can do flipped lessons, where you give the students the work to consume in their own time, and then after that they then would work on their assignments. So the trick is, we all have different stages of where we're at with flipped learning, and I would say that even though you haven't even started, all of you are already on the pathway of stages of the flipped classroom. So let's just go through them. Traditional class, right? So regardless of how you do, the teacher is at the front of the room. Teacher's just a normal person, and they are having to deliver the content. In this case, I've got little Jared sitting down the front, puts his hand up, and as a teacher, I have to decide, is little Jared more important than the rest of the class, or is the learning is the rest of the class more important than Jared? So I have to make a decision whether I'm going to help that one child with a hand up or continue on with the rest of the classroom. Now in this model, the teacher is working 100% of the time. You have to redo the lesson every year, and the students are between 0 and 100%. Depends on how well you are getting them to work. More than likely, probably about 10 to 50%. This is normally very much a write, remember, recall, and depends on disruptions how fast you can get through the material. Here we have the ICT Supported classroom. Now in this case, the teacher pre-makes their lessons. Now in this case, I've got a video up the front. It could also be a PowerPoint, but basically the teacher no longer has to write on the board. The lessons are pre-made, all right? The same as a PowerPoint. Now when little Jared puts his hand up, I don't have to stop the information from being done. I can go and help little Jared here whilst the information is continued on. Now, this may be a video. The thing about this is that it's good because once you've made it, you can use it next year. You just have to edit it. Also, one student is not stopping the rest of the class from learning. However, all the students in the class have to learn at the same time. Right? For a teacher, 20%. They're working about 20% of the time once the video is made, right? So basically they go in, they put on the PowerPoint, put on the video, and then they go around and support the class, but basically can do some marking or whatever. Students, 100% load, all right? More or less, 80 to 100. So because they are having to do all the work, the teacher is not getting off task. So when the teacher's helping one student, the other students still have to keep working. Students don't have any downtime. This is probably where a lot of you are at the moment, where you're thinking, I'll make some PowerPoints and then put them up and then get the students to consume that PowerPoint. ICT Enhanced classroom. Now, the joke I always make is that these students are not actually plugged in. I've just done very poor examples of headphones. So in this case, the students are consuming their information on their own device. So as I said, ICT Enhanced classroom. Some students will elect to watch a device between them. Other students will work on their own. Here again, little Johnny or little Jared puts his hand up and I can help him. The rest of the students can actually go on with it in their own time. Some students will choose to pause and review. Maybe these students at the back will go, well, hang on, pause. Did you understand that? Well, yeah, I did. Here, let me explain it to you. Other students might go, we don't understand it. Neither of us understand it. And they'll put their hand up and I can come across and help. Other students go, this is really easy, they can fast forward. Other students might go, I didn't understand that, pause, rewind, replay, and so they have control of their learning. In this case, teacher's load goes up a little bit because every student's in a slightly different point. You need to make sure all the students are on task. Students' load is much higher. It's definitely heading up towards 100% because none of them need to stop. Again, it's mostly write, remember, recall. right? But again, we're starting to get up to a lot more of a flipped classroom. Now, again, if you give the PowerPoint to the students and let them go through it, and you set the task in the PowerPoint along the way, this is a great way of consumption. Flipping the classroom. So this is where I actually get to the flip. If you've already given all the material and the videos to the students, why do you make them do it in the classroom? Because it seems that is the poorest method. If they're going to have to consume that, the simple task of just consuming the information, then, well, they can actually learn that anytime, anywhere. You could set them to watch homework. They could watch it on the bus on the way home, or the car. They could sit at home. They could sit at groups and watch it. Go down to the local McDonald's and watch it on the Wi-Fi there, right? So why not get them to do the work at home rather than in the classroom, right? In this case, the teacher's load is getting a little bit more because you have to keep them on task, and when they come back to the classroom, that's when you're doing the more directed activities, the discussions and so on. It's a lot more interesting. Okay, the advanced flipped classroom. All right. So here, at this case, the students are starting to learn at their own pace. If you've made all of the videos for the year, so this is the second year almost, and then allow the students to consume at their own pace so they can access all the videos from day one, why do you actually stop them and keep them in lockstep? Why not allow them to watch it and move forward as it becomes available and as they need it? So if I've got 20 videos for the lessons, or for the unit, why not allow the students to actually watch all 20 videos in their own time? As long as they're staying on track and going at the minimum pace, the ones that are actually having really understanding it can fly through. All right. The hard part about this is that the teacher needs to know a lot more, because they need to understand the whole course, not just the next page of the chapter. I use this for my ICT, my digital technologies classrooms or IT lessons. For example, when we do Arduino boards, so it's understanding electronics, rather than me try and teach the students how to do a wiring, I've pre-recorded the videos so they can watch it on their screen, pause, wire up, plug in number 3, go on, that light has to go into number 4, so they can see it very, very specifically, and they can pause and go back and rewind, and meanwhile the next student who understood it is on video 4. Okay, so that's the advanced flipped classroom. The vertical classroom is where it gets even better. In this case, a vertical classroom is once you've made all the videos for your year, now let's say maths, you've made all year 7 videos, why do we make the students stay in the year level? We always, basically, it just means we're keeping the students there to babysit them, right? Originally, if I've got little Jared who's not that bright, in a lesson we say, okay, you need to learn this piece of material. The next day go, right, little Jared, you need to move on to the next chapter. Oh, but I didn't understand the last chapter. Well, too bad, you need to keep up. Meanwhile, Stephen Hawking, who's sitting in the classroom, goes, I've finished all this, do you mind if I go on to the next bit? You go, no, sorry, that's tomorrow's work. In this case, with the advanced classroom or the vertical classroom, you can do a lot more work and allow the students to move forward at their own pace. The hard part about this is some students could be in year 7 doing year 9 work. So how do you keep them on task? How do you set challenges that are going to be beneficial to them? How do you assess their understanding? And that is a whole nother question. Right? In this case, the teacher's load is getting quite high, right? But it's actually it's a real load. Instead of just delivering content, which YouTube can do for you, you need to know not just the whole course for the year level, but all the year levels. Right? In this case, the students are going away, they're consuming at their own time, then they're coming in and they're working to develop the subject knowledge at their own pace. When you're setting a task, it might say, I want you, for maths, I want you to go out and calculate how much paint I need to paint all the lines on a basketball court. Now, little Jared's not that bright. He goes, well, I know perimeter. I've learnt that. Maybe I could use that to calculate the perimeter of the basketball court and the circle. Maybe I could work out how much 1 square hand is or 1 square meter is, or 1 square centimeter, and then count how many squares it takes to paint all that. Stephen Hawking, meanwhile, is using calculus to work out the area of the circle, the amount of paint needed, and so on. But they're answering the same questions, so they're demonstrating their knowledge. This is a highly integrated classroom. I do believe there are 2 schools that I know of. One's in Canberra and I can't remember where the other one is, that is already doing this. So this is not that far away. I would expect that in time that you guys are moving into teaching in the next 5 years, you would start to see stuff like this. The final one is the virtual classroom. The virtual classroom is where you may have students in the class and students not in the class, and so you're recording it. Swivel is a great way of doing this. So students study the core subjects at school, but they could do the specialty subjects at their own time. So perhaps maths, science, PE is done at school, but some students want to do economics. Economics is a subject that quite often has a small number of students. However, and so the school doesn't offer it as a subject. But if you could do it online through another school, then you get to do all the subjects you're interested in, economics or languages or geology or, history. Well, history is actually quite popular. Right, but there's so many different things. Now, the vertical classroom means that you may be teaching in your school and many other schools at the same time. It's a very different way of teaching. You could end up with super schools, so potentially students could attend a super school and content stream to them from all the different places around Australia. All right, so that is the flipped stages of the flipped classroom. It's something I'm very passionate about. I would say that every single one of you would be somewhere on this flipped classroom model. You may be at the top where you're just going to write notes on the board and deliver content verbally. You may go PowerPoints and videos. You may go, well, I'll share my PowerPoints with you. You may actually be all the way up to the flipped classroom where you're allowing students to consume at home and you're using the class time to go through assignments and discussions and do the fun stuff that you miss out on. Realistically, if you think about it, why would we get students to do their assignments at home? Who's the best person to help them with the assignment? It's not parents, it's the teacher. So why not allow them to watch the content or read their book at home where they're just passive learning and do the fun stuff with us in the class? Right? And so here we have the fun stuff happening. The students have consumed their work at home, and here this is the where we're going. They've got all the material for the whole of the year. Here we've got the whole material for many years, and then really we're back down to here where the teacher is back at the front controlling the class, but each student is consuming it in their own way. So that's a flipped classroom.
Ow.